Did you know that we throw away about 40% of our food? Well, coming up on Money in Your Pocket, we're talking about ways to save money on your grocery bill and cut down on food waste. Mary Liz Wright from U of I Extension is here with some great tips and advice that will help you eat healthy and save money at the same time. That's all coming up next, so stay right where you are.
This program is made possible in part by Credit Union One, proud to support Money in Your Pocket. Credit Union One offers savings and lending options. Additional information on membership available at creditunion1.org. Loans subject to approval. Accounts are insured up to $250,000. By member's choice, this institution is not federally insured.
If you're interested in saving money on your grocery bill like I am, today's Money in Your Pocket is just for you. I'd like to welcome Mary Liz Wright, U of I Extension Educator, to the show.
Thank you, Lori. It's good to be here.
Tell us a little bit about the counties that you cover in our area.
Well, I cover primarily Clark, Crawford, and Edgar we call ourselves the Route 1 corridor. But I also will come into other counties, other areas that don't have a nutrition educator. For example, Coles County doesn't have a nutrition educator, so I'm over here quite a bit.
All right. Well, when we do this show, we talk about all things money, and the one thing that you may not be, saving lots for retirement, you may not be doing other investments, but everybody eats and everybody has to go to the grocery store, so that's why this is a great topic, because it affects really everybody. How did you come up with the idea for this
Well,
this talk?
I tell you, Lori, I got really tired of people telling me, well, I can't afford to eat healthy. And the opposite is true. If with a little planning, you can feed your family very well, very healthy food for not nearly as much money as you think.
All right. So by the end of the show, we're going to be saving money and eating healthier. So what could be better than that?
You should be.
Talk about what does it cost to feed a family of four? What's the average cost?
Well, according to the USDA, it can range from $130 to $290. So a very wide range in there, and they have the thrifty plan and the more extravagant plan. But anyway, your family should fall somewhere in between those two numbers. It also depends on geographically where you live.
Right.
But that's the average.
So how much of that gets wasted over the course of a year?
Well, it's an embarrassment to Americans that we throw 40% of our food away.
Wow.
So it's almost like if you're coming into your house with several bags, you drop almost half of them in your driveway and you don't ever go back and recover them. It's almost like that.
Yeah.
You're throwing 40% of your food away. It amounts to a little over $2,700 a year, and you can take a vacation on that. Wouldn't you like to take a vacation?
Yes, I would. All right, so let's talk about the steps that we need to kind of, just like anything, we've had people on the show talking about getting your financial house in order. We're going to get our kitchen and our pantry in order. What's step one?
Okay, step one, I say follow the money. And by that, you've done budgeting lessons before where people are asked to write down everything that they spend. Or when you start a diet, quite often they'll say, write down everything that you eat. Well, for me, that's cumbersome. I've never been able to do that. But what you can do is get some sort of a container, even an empty coffee can. And then every time you purchase something that goes into your mouth, the pack of gum when you get gas, the fancy coffee that you really need, a treat, we'll talk about that too. But even the fast food hamburger, ask for a receipt, put it in the container. At the end of the week, get all the containers out, get all the receipts out, look at them and see where your money's gone and add them up. You'll be shocked at what the total is.
All right, so the next thing is create a plan.
Yes.
Need a plan.
We always need a plan, and I say that we begin by shopping at home. So look in the deep recesses of your cabinet. Go down to that freezer and dig down underneath all of those things. And actually, for your freezer, things will stay good. They won't be unsafe, but they'll stay safe for years.
Right.
But we know the quality won't be as good. So what we need to do is keep a list of the items in your freezer on that freezer door and rotate them in and out. Shop your freezer first and see what you've got. kind of make a plan. Okay, well, I've got a ham in my freezer. Maybe we're going to have ham this week. And so then your second step is to go to the store circular. Every store, so whatever store that you ordinarily shop at, they'll have a weekly sale circular, and start with the things that are on sale. And what I tell people is, you know, I don't care if you're hungry for roast beef this week. If roast beef isn't on sale, you're not going to have roast beef this week. It's going to go on sale another week. It will. And so begin with that mindset of, okay, here's what we're going to start with. I've got this in my cabinet, this in my freezer, this is on sale. Start planning at least a few meals for the week.
And I know planning is so much easier if you're making something and you have all the ingredients, rather than running to more of a convenience store where that one item is going to cost you a lot more.
Oh, absolutely. And then
have
also, have you ever gone to the store for one item and come out with just one item?
No.
That's the other advantage of planning, is that you don't, studies have shown the more frequently you go to the store, the more you spend. So if you stick with that weekly planned shopping, and actually Wednesday is the best day to shop.
Why is that?
Well, because that's when the manager's specials are quite often offered. Most circulars are coming out Wednesday evening or Thursday, and so you can get underneath what's been on sale for a week. So they're really super discounting those items. And plus, sometimes you can get ahead, and they'll also give you the discount on the week to come.
Oh, smart idea.
Smart idea. And it never hurts to ask. Never hurts to ask.
So what about for people that have multiple grocery stores in their town, or maybe a few in their town and another out of town? Are you one that advocates, you know, shop all the circulars and go to all those grocery stores? Does that save money?
You know, Lori, I don't have time to do that.
Yeah.
And what you can do is ask, as again I said, doesn't hurt to ask your store if they will add match. Quite often they will.
Yes.
And so that's, you can develop a relationship with your store. And if something is extraordinarily discounted and it's not too far away, or maybe if you happen to be in that area anyway, go ahead.
Okay.
But I wouldn't chase 30 cents around going to several stores.
Right. All right. So let's talk about when we're actually getting to the grocery store. What do we need to know?
Well, we need to know that we need to shop for things that are in season. And the reason we do that, and that's where this whole eating healthy, I don't want to call it a myth, but we talk about we need to eat more fruits and vegetables.
Right.
We know that. We need to eat more fruits and vegetables. But quite often people will put an adjective in front of that, and they'll say, you need to eat fresh fruits and vegetables. We almost say that unconsciously, fresh fruits and vegetables. Well, if it's not in season, then I don't recommend buying it.
It's going to be rather expensive.
It's going to be very expensive, but also, you've probably taken a car trip across the country, 3 or 4 days in the car. How do you feel when you get there?
Ugh.
Terrible, terrible. Yes. Well, it's the same truth for those fruits and vegetables, particularly if they're coming and the weather's bad. You know, as soon as you harvest a fruit or vegetable, Mother Nature begins the decay process, because the whole point of having that fruit or vegetable is to produce another generation. So the decay has happened. 3 or 4 days, you stretch that out, you're losing more vitamins and minerals with every hour. So by the time we get those fresh green beans in January here in Central Illinois, they have very little nutritional value. The good news is that the folks who process the fruits and vegetables build their processing plants really close to where those fruits and vegetables are grown. They don't want to pay a trucking bill.
Right.
And so they're harvesting them at the peak of nutrition. So buy frozen, buy canned. We've been afraid for years about the sodium in the canned foods. Well, now even store brands come in low sodium or no sodium. So buy that, and you are way ahead economically, but also nutritionally. Don't buy strawberries in January.
And they're never as good in January.
No.
Yes.
They have frozen strawberries down the freezer aisle.
Do stores put certain types of things on sale? Like, is there certain months where they'll put more canned goods on sale than other times. You know, like you think in department stores, they'll have white sales.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And what you'll notice is that stores are kind of on a 6 to 8 week cycle, particularly for non-perishable goods. So like your canned goods, like your paper goods. So just begin to watch the store where you go. The next time those items go on sale, just kind of mark it on your calendar. And then in about 6 weeks, you'll notice they'll come on sale again. And then you need to get into that mindset of, oh, well, that's when I stock up on XYZ.
What about coupons? Are you a couponer?
You know, when coupons were doubled when I was first married, I was a couponer. They no longer do that. Now, some of those people who are those super couponers that make us all think, wow, I could do that. It's almost like a part-time job.
Yes.
And what I have found is that even with a coupon, the store brand is cheaper than the name brand, even with a coupon discounted. And you know, the store brands and the name brands are often made in the same plant.
Really?
On a different day. They'll run the name brand on a Wednesday, and then the following day they're canning the green beans for the store brand.
And sometimes you have to try the store brand.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, sometimes it's not as good as, you know, the name brand.
And there are certain things that you can remain brand loyal, and that's when you look for the sales, and that's when you use the coupons. But when comparing store brand and name brand, look at that nutrition facts label.
Yes.
Because you want to make sure you're getting the same nutritional value.
And generally, are they the same nutritionally?
Generally, they are.
What about, you had said, look at unit pricing. And I think maybe this also comes into effect if you think, well, I'm going to shop at, you know, one of the big discount places, you know, the warehouse kinds of places.
Well, unit pricing allows you to compare apples to apples instead of apples to oranges.
Okay.
And it's a really valuable tool. I use it quite often when deciding between brand and store brand. But also, you know, historically we thought the bigger the better. The largest box was always the best buy. Well, you need to compare that unit pricing because sometimes that's just not true.
Yeah.
So just do that little bit of math, and fortunately many of the stores have it already done for us, and it's right there on the end cap of the shelf.
You talked about, excuse me, actually locations in the store. There's some strategic places to go.
Brand manufacturers pay what's called a slotting fee. They're paying rent in the store for their location. And if you'll notice, particularly on the cereal aisle, the cereals that are eye level are those name brand ones that advertise on television that everyone in our family wants. So eye level, most expensive rent or a slotting fee. So in order to get the best deals, you really need to look up and look down.
Okay.
Very simply, look up and look down. Also, as far as location, don't buy something that's not in the ordinary place. Now, what I mean by that is, don't buy those dips that are in the chip aisle.
Okay.
A dip in the dairy aisle or in the ethnic foods aisle will most often be cheaper than the dips in the chip aisle.
Because they're putting the two together for convenience, so you don't have to.
You're running in, it's a party, you have to bring something. You're running in just to get that one thing.
And then you can, I did not know that. Any other grocery store tips we need to know?
The other thing that you need to know is there's a scale in every produce department. You know, it's got a great big dial.
Yes.
It's not there for decoration. And you also know that apples, oranges, potatoes, nature does not make them all to weigh exactly the same. So if you're buying a 3-pound bag of apples, those bags don't weigh exactly 3 pounds. So weigh a few of them, one of them or two of them. Get the heaviest one. You're still going to be paying $3, but you're getting food for free.
Oh, I didn't
That's a bonus, isn't it?
That's a good one.
Yeah.
That is really good. What about shopping at, you know, like club places like Sam's Club and Costco?
If you have a really large family and you can use those enormous boxes
toilet paper that's the big size of this table.
I would think that it would be an okay thing to do. You also have to pay a membership fee. And living where we do, there's going to be a drive involved.
Right.
You need to take all of that into account.
Okay. So let's talk about, you talked about I want you to give us some examples of how we can save money by food group. You know,
Okay.
we all know we've got the 4 basic
All
food
right.
groups. So give us an example. We got 10 minutes, so it'll give you
Right.
a little idea of
Okay.
how much time we have. Let's start with fruits and vegetables.
Okay, fruits and vegetables. Well, the main thing that I have already mentioned is to buy in season. And by in season, I mean when it could be growing in your backyard.
Okay.
Now, that being said, there are a few items that don't have a season. Root vegetables are always a great buy. Potatoes, onions, carrots, always a great buy. In the winter, again, out of season, you want to look for those crops that are easily stored, like cabbage. So instead of lettuce, have cabbage, or go ahead and buy a small head of lettuce, mix it with cabbage for your salad. Honestly, it's good. Turnips, always a good buy in the winter. So begin to think less of those fragile greens and more of your more stable, easy to store. The other thing is, do you really not have time to peel a carrot? Those little bags of what we call baby carrots, which are really just carrots that have been put in a tumbler. They're not babies.
They're not. Okay.
They're not babies. They're more than twice the price of a bag of carrots. It takes about 3 seconds to peel a carrot. Depends on your schedule.
Yeah, you know, if your kids are old enough, hand them a peeler.
Absolutely.
Give them a job.
Absolutely. I do a lot of cooking classes with students, and you'd be shocked at how many have never peeled a carrot. And taste is always better with the ones that you peel. I think those baby carrots can sometimes taste like whatever they've been washed in. And the peeled carrot is sweeter. So anyway, weigh the produce, buy in season, peel your own carrot.
Okay. Okay, let's go down to grains. That encompasses lots of areas.
Grains, you know, that's our major source of energy. And what we need to do from a nutrition standpoint is to make sure at least half of the grains we're eating are whole grain. I'm a huge fan of oatmeal. And my friends joke that that's my major food source. Cabbage and oatmeal are my major food sources. But, you know, cereal is expensive. And you can toast oatmeal, add some dried fruit to it, and not convince your children that they're the brand cereal that they see on television, but it can be a nice alternative. Or mix it with some of those brand name cereals. So oatmeal, huge fan. Rolled oats, quick oats, whatever you prefer.
I've become a fan of steel cut oats.
Oh yeah.
I love the texture of them.
They take some time to cook.
Yeah, and there's a lot of recipes out there where you can put oatmeal in the crock pot overnight.
I've heard that.
It's really good.
Is it really good?
Well,
I
it
need to
tastes
try
you can get it to taste kind of like apple pie.
Ooh,
kind of, not the same, but
wow.
and you know, you wake up and it smells kind of good. So
Great.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing that I'm not a fan of is the instant oatmeals and the little packages.
Yeah.
Actually, if you're opening packages to feed yourself, we need to rethink.
Okay.
You're spending more money for convenience, be it instant oatmeal, instant rice, you know, whatever. So anyway, the instant oatmeal quite often loaded with sugar. Rolled oats are less than 6 cents a serving.
Yeah. You buy that
goes
big
a
container.
long way
yes,
towards your food budget.
Yeah, it's very reasonable.
And the other thing, talking about opening packages, the side dishes, the noodle mixes, the rice mixes, quite often they're not quicker to cook. They're just loaded with salt and things you can't pronounce if you read that ingredient label. And they're 5, 6, 7 times the price of just a regular bag of rice.
Yeah. Okay, what else about grains?
Bread. You know, we eat a lot of bread and we need to make it count. And bread can be expensive, but you want to make sure you know what you're buying. Brown bread doesn't mean healthy bread. You can make bread brown by adding molasses or food coloring. So you need to look for the word whole on the front, made with whole grain. Ideally, it would be 100% whole grain. It depends on your palate and your family. But just rule of thumb, buy the heaviest bread you can afford.
Okay. Yeah, if it's that real light stuff that my
hey,
husband
you're
likes.
buying fluff.
I tell him you should not be eating that. But okay, dairy.
Dairy is expensive. It's also very good for us. We need the calcium. We our bones need it for women and then also children growing up. We recommend low-fat dairy because until you're if you're older than 2, you really don't need the fat in whole milk. So anyway, treat your dairy well, and you'll save money. And by that I mean the date on the milk carton is a best buy.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean you have to throw it out at that date. I mean, you've spent almost, $3.50, $4 on that gallon of milk. So keep it at 40 degrees. Make sure your refrigerator, get a little thermometer, make sure your refrigerator is at 40 degrees and keep the milk in there. Don't bring the milk out, pour yourself a bowl of cereal, and let the milk sit on the counter while you read the cereal box and eat your cereal. The more time spent outside of the refrigerator shortens the life of the milk. So that's with all dairy. Keep them cold, and they'll last at least 5 to 7 days after the date stamped on the carton.
I am kind of one of those people that I'll admit I look for when I pick my milk out, I look for the furthest away date.
And that's okay too. You just gives you more time.
That's right. Okay, so let's go down to proteins.
Proteins. We Americans eat way more protein than we need to. Actually, if you go to a restaurant and they serve you a steak and it covers the plate, that's a roast.
Yes.
That should feed your whole family. Yeah. So if we are eating realistic portions of protein, we will cut our food bill. And by realistic portion, I mean no larger than the palm of your hand. Yeah. Not your whole hand. The palm of your hand.
Not like a Shaquille O'Neal.
Not like a great, well, he can probably eat a bigger steak than I can.
That's true.
So the other thing that we recommend is watching for sales and going meatless one day a week. You know, beans are a super, super good source of protein.
And they're economical too.
Yeah, particularly if you're soaking them overnight and then cooking them. What I recommend, and if people learn one thing from me, I would like them to buy whole chickens. Whole chickens are quite often half the price of the cut up, the individual pieces. And so you can have several meals off of that one chicken. You can bake it in the oven or put it in the crock pot for a family meal. The leftovers, you can make chicken tacos, you can do chicken salad. But then the bones of that chicken, and this is becoming more popular and kind of even trendy, is to boil those bones with some celery tops and carrots and onions and make your own broth. Then set that aside. And then every evening at the end of your supper meal, if you've got 3 or 4 tablespoons of veggies left, instead of standing over the sink and eating them, which we do, or throwing them away, put them in what I call a container for soup. And either keep it in your freezer or in your refrigerator, depending on how often you're going to use it. At the end of the week, take your leftover vegetables and that broth. You can even add some meat to it. And that's what I take in my lunch every day. I always add cabbage to it. But it's amazing. I'm eating lunch for really nothing.
Yeah, and the best chicken stock, broth is made from that leftover
And in
chicken.
30 minutes, you can have it done. So that's what I recommend. I'm also not a big fan of lunch meat. If you're I do recommend bringing your lunch to work, but if you're buying lunch meat, it just amazes me that marquee of a grocery store will say, deli ham on sale for $6.99. $6.99 a pound. You can almost buy steak for that. So what I recommend is you buy the ham or the turkey on sale, bake it yourself, and then the secret is after you've served it once and you want to slice it for sandwiches, for lunches, put it in your freezer to where it is almost frozen.
Okay.
And that way you can get the thin slices that would mimic lunch meat.
And then it doesn't have all of the other extra sodium and preservatives and all sorts of things like that.
Enormous price.
We're not even going to get to my last thing, but because we're almost out of time, just in general, what are some final tips you have for people to save money on their grocery bill?
Well, it's plan. Don't go to the store for one thing. Buy in season and cook that whole chicken.
And don't shop when you're hungry.
Yes, don't shop when you're hungry.
My cart is like, I need like
everything
3 carts.
Looks good then.
It does. And I also go with a list too.
Absolutely.
I never used to, and now I go with a list.
It also helps to write your list with the arrangement of the store. And that way you're not zigzagging back and forth and looking at those attractive things on the end of the aisle.
Yes. We're going to have you back again because we didn't even get to gardening and canning.
Oh, we can come back.
That's a whole other episode, which I think that's something a lot of people are getting into. It's a great way to save money and eat healthy.
And U of I Extension has all sorts of information about that.
All right. Thank you so much, Mary Liz, for coming by Money in Your Pocket.
Thank you, Lori.
Here's the bottom line for saving money on your food bill. First, follow the money. For a week, track your food receipts and see just how much you're spending. Shop your fridge, freezer, and cupboard to see what you have already. Then create a plan of meals and look at what's on sale and plan your meals for the week. When it comes to the grocery store, Mary Liz recommends shopping the circular and buying store brand and choosing seasonal items. It's not hard to eat healthy and save money. You just have to work at it. Well, that's it for this episode of Money in Your Pocket. Be sure to check out our other episodes at youtube.com/WEIU.
This program is made possible in part by Credit Union One. Proud to support Money in Your Pocket. Credit Union One offers savings and lending options. Additional information on membership available at creditunion1.org. Loans subject to approval. Accounts are insured up to $250,000. By Members' Choice, this institution is not federally insured.